I sat in my private office on the 42nd floor looking down at the city lights scattered below like fallen stars. In 2 hours, I would walk into a room full of people who thought they knew me. My ex-wife Jessica would be there celebrating her birthday with her new husband Brad. The irony was not lost on me. 2 years ago, Jessica left because she said I had no future, no stability, no real direction. She wanted someone who could provide security, someone with a proper career. Now she had Brad. What she did not know, what Brad definitely did not know, was that I was not just some freelance consultant scraping by on odd jobs. He had no idea who I really was. None of them did. Tonight I would show up not to prove anything, but simply to be civil. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words ever could. Before I tell you how that night changed everything, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. If you have ever been underestimated or judged unfairly, hit that like button. And subscribe, because what happened next will show you why staying quiet can be the most powerful move you will ever make. Now let me take you back to where this all started. I met Jessica 7 years ago at an art gallery opening in Brooklyn. It was one of those warm September evenings where the city felt alive with possibility. She was standing in front of an abstract painting, her head tilted slightly to the side, genuinely trying to understand what the artist meant. I walked up and made some joke about how the painting looked like someone had spilled their lunch on a canvas. She laughed. That laugh changed my life. Jessica was an elementary school teacher back then. She loved routine structure and the comfort of knowing what each day would bring. I was working as a software engineer for a major corporation, pulling in a decent salary, living in a small but comfortable apartment in Queens. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Those early years were simple and good. We would cook dinner together on Sunday nights, trying new recipes we found online. We would take long walks through Prospect Park, talking about everything and nothing. Life felt complete. But 4 years into our marriage, something shifted inside me. I had been working on an idea for months, sketching out plans during lunch breaks and late at night after Jessica fell asleep. It was a project management software designed specifically for small and medium-sized businesses. The existing solutions were either too complicated or too expensive for companies that were just trying to grow. I saw a gap in the market. I knew I could fill it. When I told Jessica I wanted to quit my job and start my own company, the color drained from her face. We were sitting at our kitchen table, the same table where we had shared so many meals and conversations. She set down her coffee mug slowly, carefully, like she was afraid it might shatter. "Samuel, we have a mortgage. We have bills. What about health insurance? What about our future?" Her voice was steady, but I could hear the fear underneath. I had done the math. I had savings that could cover us for 18 months if we were careful. I explained the business plan, the market research, the potential clients I had already lined up for beta testing. But numbers and projections could not compete with her need for certainty. Her parents had always valued stability above everything else. Her father had worked the same job for 35 years. To them, entrepreneurship was just a fancy word for unemployment. The first few months were harder than I expected. I worked 16-hour days surviving on coffee and the belief that I was building something meaningful. Technova Solutions started in our spare bedroom, just me and my laptop, and a dream that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Jessica tried to be supportive, but I could feel her pulling away. When I was too exhausted to talk after a long day of coding, she felt neglected. When I skipped family dinners to meet with potential investors, her parents made comments about responsibility and priorities. The argument started small: a forgotten anniversary dinner, a credit card bill that was higher than expected. But they grew. Jessica would say things like, "I did not sign up for this uncertainty, Samuel. I need to know we will be okay." And I would promise her we would be, but promises are just words when bills are due and the bank account keeps shrinking. 14 months after I started Technova Solutions, Jessica filed for divorce. She sat me down one evening, her eyes red from crying, and told me she could not do it anymore. She loved me, she said, but love was not enough when she lay awake every night worried about money. I did not fight her. I did not beg. I understood. Sometimes people need different things, and forcing them to stay only makes everyone miserable. We divided what little we had and signed the papers. She moved out on a Tuesday morning in March while I was at a meeting with potential clients. When I came home, half the apartment was empty, and so was I. For the next 3 months, I threw myself completely into the company. I had nothing else left to lose. And then something unexpected happened. The beta clients loved the software. They told their colleagues. Those colleagues reached out for demos. Within 6 months of the divorce being finalized, Technova Solutions landed its first major contract with a manufacturing company in Ohio, then another in Texas, then 3 more in California. 18 months after Jessica left, my company was valued at several $1,000,000. I had 30 employees. We had office space in Manhattan with a view of the Hudson River. I was the CEO and founder of one of the fastest growing tech companies in the region. But here is the thing. I kept it quiet. I did not do press interviews. I did not post on social media. I hired a communications director who handled all public appearances. When the company was featured in tech magazines, they used stock photos or images of our product, not my face. I wanted to focus on building something real, not building a personal brand. I also had learned something from my marriage. The people who care about you for the right reasons do not need proof of your success. They believe in you before the world validates you. I heard through mutual friends that Jessica had started dating someone new about 6 months after our divorce. His name was Brad. When I saw his name come across my desk in an employee file, I realized he worked for me. Brad was a senior account manager in our sales department. According to his performance reviews, he was good at his job. He hit his targets. He was confident with clients. But there were also notes from HR about complaints from coworkers regarding his attitude. Words like arrogant and dismissive appeared more than once. I did not interfere, as long as he did his work and did not create major problems. His personal life was none of my business. I moved into a penthouse apartment in Tribeca, but I kept it simple. Minimalist furniture, no flashy artwork. I drove a reliable sedan, not a sports car. I wore jeans and button-down shirts, not designer suits. Money had never been about showing off for me. It was about freedom. The freedom to work on projects I cared about. The freedom to help other entrepreneurs get started. The freedom to live life on my own terms. I dated occasionally over those 2 years, but nothing serious. I was not ready. Or maybe I was just too focused on work. I spent my free time running along the East River, reading biographies of people who had built things from nothing, and mentoring young founders who reminded me of myself. Then 3 weeks ago, I received an email from Helen, Jessica's younger sister. Helen and I had always gotten along well. She wrote that Jessica was having a birthday dinner and that the family hoped I could attend. She was honest in her message. The family wanted things to be civil. They did not want awkwardness or drama. They thought if I came, it would show that everyone had moved on like adults. Helen added a personal note at the end, saying she had always respected me and hoped I was doing well. I stared at that email for a long time. My first instinct was to decline politely. Why put myself in an uncomfortable situation? But then I thought about Helen, who had always been kind to me. I thought about showing that I held no bitterness, so I replied that I would be there. Helen wrote back immediately thanking me and saying it meant a lot to the family. 2 weeks before the birthday dinner, I stopped by my favorite coffee shop in Manhattan. It was a small place tucked between 2 office buildings, the kind of spot where they knew your order before you reached the counter. I had just finished a morning meeting with our development team about rolling out version 4.2 of our mobile app. My mind was still running through the technical details when I walked in and saw them. Jessica and Brad were sitting at a corner table near the window. The afternoon sunlight caught Jessica's hair the way it used to when we were married. For a split second, I felt a pang of something. Not regret exactly, but a recognition of what used to be. Brad was talking loudly, gesturing with his hands clearly in the middle of some story. He was tall, well-built, with the kind of polished appearance that came from expensive haircuts and tailored clothes. Even from across the room, I could sense his confidence, the kind that borders on arrogance. Jessica saw me first. Her eyes widened and she touched Brad's arm to get his attention. I could have left. I could have gotten my coffee to go and walked out. But that felt cowardly, so I walked over. Samuel, Jessica said, standing up. Hi, this is unexpected. Hey, Jess, good to see you. I meant it. Whatever had happened between us, I did not wish her ill. This is Brad. Brad, this is Samuel, my ex-husband. Brad stood and extended his hand. His grip was firm, almost too firm, like he was trying to prove something. Samuel, finally. Jessica has told me about you. Good things, I hope, I said. Mostly. He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. So, what brings you to this part of town job interview? Just grabbing coffee. I have a few meetings nearby. Oh yeah, what line of work are you in now? I could have told him the truth right then. But something in his tone, the way he was sizing me up like a competitor, made me pause. I do some consulting work. Freelance projects here and there. Brad nodded slowly, his smile growing wider. Oh, so you are still figuring things out. That is cool, man. Takes time for some people. Jessica looked uncomfortable. Brad Samuel is very talented. He was always brilliant with technology. Oh, I am sure he is, Brad said, waving his hand dismissively. It is just, freelance is tough. Unstable. No benefits, no security. I could not do it. He leaned back in his chair, completely at ease. I am actually killing it at my company right now. Technova Solutions. You heard of it? I might have. We are crushing our goals this quarter. I just closed 3 major deals last month. My bonus alone could probably cover 6 months of freelance work. He laughed. No offense, man. None taken. The best part is our CEO. Nobody ever sees the guy. He is like a ghost. Sends emails, does video calls with his camera off. We are making him millions and he cannot even show his face. But hey, genius types are weird like that, right? Right, I said. Jessica tried to change the subject. Are you still coming to my birthday dinner, Samuel? That is the plan. Great, that will be nice. It will be good to catch up properly. She shot Brad a look that clearly meant stop talking. Brad either did not notice or did not care. You should come, man. We will have a good time. I will introduce you to some of my colleagues. Maybe one of them knows someone who is hiring. Get you into something more stable. I appreciate that, Brad. No problem. We corporate guys have to help out the freelancers when we can. He clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends. I got my coffee and left shortly after. As I walked back to my office, I felt something between amusement and irritation. Brad was exactly the type of person I had dealt with my whole career. The kind who measured worth by job titles and paychecks, who thought success was about volume rather than substance. I pulled up his employee file when I got back to my desk. Solid sales numbers, multiple complaints about condescending behavior towards support staff, a note from his manager suggesting coaching on interpersonal skills. I closed the file. Brad would learn eventually, or he would not. Either way, it was not my problem. The night of the birthday dinner arrived. I dressed simply. Dark jeans, a white dress shirt, a navy blazer. I could have shown up in a custom suit driving a car that cost more than most people's houses. But that was never my style. I stopped at a bookstore on the way and picked up a first edition of a novel Jessica had mentioned, Loving, years ago. It cost more than I would normally spend on a gift, but I wanted her to know I remembered the good parts of our time together. The restaurant was in the Upper East Side, the kind of place with white tablecloths and waiters who moved like dancers. Helen had reserved a private room in the back. I arrived exactly on time. Helen greeted me at the door with a genuine smile and a hug. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. It means a lot. Of course, happy to be here. Jessica's parents were near the bar. Her father gave me a stiff nod. Her mother managed a tight smile. They had never forgiven me for the divorce, even though it was Jessica who filed. In their eyes, I had failed to provide stability, and that made me the villain. I did not try to change their minds. Some people need someone to blame, and I was an easy target. About 30 people were scattered around the room. Family members I recognized. Friends of Jessica I had met at various gatherings over the years. And then there was Brad's group. 5 guys in expensive shirts clustered near the windows, laughing too loud and drinking too fast. Brad saw me and his face lit up like he had just spotted fresh prey. Samuel, you made it. He walked over with his drink raised. Guys, come here. I want you to meet someone. 3 of his friends followed. Daniel was short and stocky with slicked back hair. Marcus was lanky with glasses and a nervous laugh. Troy had the build of someone who spent too much time at the gym and not enough time developing a personality. Everyone, this is Samuel, Jessica's ex-husband. Samuel, this is Daniel, Marcus, and Troy. We all work together at Technova. Nice to meet you all, I said. Samuel here is between things right now, doing the freelance grind. Brad's tone was friendly, but there was an edge to it. Tough market out there, right, buddy? Something like that, I said. Daniel, trying to be polite, asked, what kind of freelance work do you do? Technology, software development, project management, that sort of thing. Ike? Marcus nodded like he understood, but his expression said otherwise. Oh, like coding gigs on Upwork. That is cool. Everyone has to start somewhere. I just smiled and took a sip of my water. Brad put his arm around Jessica, who had just walked over. Lucky for Jess, she upgraded to someone with a real career now. No offense, Sam. Brad, please, Jessica said, her voice tight. What I am just being honest. Samuel knows I am just playing around. Right, Sam? Sure, Brad, no problem. The room felt smaller suddenly. A few people nearby had stopped their conversations to listen. Helen shot me an apologetic look from across the room. I could feel the weight of everyone's attention waiting to see if I would react, if I would defend myself, if I would make a scene. I did none of those things. I just stood there calm and quiet, letting Brad have his moment. Dinner was served, and I found myself at a table with Helen and some of Jessica's cousins I barely knew. The food was excellent, but I barely tasted it. I watched Brad from across the room holding court at his table, his voice carrying over the ambient music. He was telling stories about client meetings, about deals he had closed, about the incompetence of other departments. His friends laughed at all the right moments, egging him on. After dessert, people started moving to the lounge area of the private room. Soft couches dim, lighting a bar in the corner. Brad and his group claimed the largest couch drinks in hand. I stood near Helen making small talk about her new job at a publishing house. But I kept one ear on Brad's conversation. I am telling you. Brad was saying his words slightly slurred now. Our CEO is a mystery. Nobody knows what this guy looks like. He is supposedly in his early 30s, worth millions. And he hides behind emails and video calls with no camera. It is insane. Marcus chimed in. I heard he is some kind of tech genius. Like coding prodigy or something. Troy laughed. Probably some nerd who is scared of sunlight, lives in his mom's basement eating Hot Pockets. They all laughed. Brad's eyes found mine across the room. Hey, Sam. You ever think about applying to a place like Technova? Oh, wait, you would need references. And you know a stable work history. More laughter. A few people in the room shifted uncomfortably. I will keep that in mind, Brad, I said evenly. Brad was not done. He stood up swaying slightly and walked toward me. Seriously though, man, you cannot freelance forever. At some point you need to grow up and get a real job. Build something. Contribute to society. Is that right? I kept my voice neutral. Hell yeah, look at me. I am pulling 6 figures, got bonuses twice a year. Got benefits, stock options, the whole package. Got a beautiful woman. He pulled Jessica close. She looked like she wanted to disappear. It is called being a man, Samuel, providing. Not chasing pipe dreams that go nowhere. Brad, that is enough, Jessica said quietly. What I am just being real. Samuel needs to hear this. He wasted years on that startup nonsense. What did it get him a divorce and a freelancer.com profile? Daniel tried to intervene. Brad, maybe we should just... No, Samuel is cool. He gets it. Right, Sam. You know you messed up. You know Jessica deserves better than what you could give her. The room went completely silent. People were staring at their drinks at the floor at anywhere but us. A few guests had started quietly moving toward the exit. Even Brad's friends looked uncomfortable now. I set down my glass and looked at Brad directly. My heart was calm, my mind was clear. Brad, can I ask you something about your company? He blinked, surprised by the question. Sure, what? The Q3 expansion project. The one targeting mid-sized manufacturing firms in the Midwest. How is that going? Brad's confidence faltered for a second. It is going well. Why do you ask? Just curious. I heard there were some challenges with the integration phase. Client pushback on the customization requirements? Who told you that? Lucky guess. What about the API update for the mobile app? Version 4.2. Is that rolling out on schedule? Brad stared at me. I am not on that team. How do you know about version 4.2? You said you were crushing your goals. I assumed you would know what is happening in your own company. Marcus was looking at me more carefully now, his eyes narrowing. Wait, how do you know about version 4.2? That information is internal. We have not even announced it to clients yet. I pay attention, I said. Brad's face was reddening. Are you stalking our company or something? That is weird, man. Not stalking, Brad. I work there. Brad laughed, but it sounded forced. You work at Technova. In what, the mailroom janitor? Not quite. Troy leaned forward. Then what department? All of them. The room felt like all the air had been sucked out. Daniel, Marcus, Troy, Brad, they all stared at me like I had just started speaking a different language. What do you mean, all of them? Daniel asked slowly. I mean, I oversee all of them. I founded the company. I am the CEO. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Brad's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Jessica's hand went to her mouth. Marcus fumbled for his phone, his fingers shaking as he typed into the search bar. I could see the glow of the screen reflecting on his face as he scrolled through results. Holy. Marcus held up his phone, showing the screen to Brad. He is telling the truth. Samuel Wright, founder and CEO of Technova Solutions. That is him. Brad's face went from red to white in an instant. He looked at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone. That cannot be right. You are Samuel Wright. The Samuel Wright. I said simply. But why did not you say anything? Why did not you tell us? You did not ask. You assumed. Troy stood up so fast he nearly knocked over his drink. We work for you. We actually work for you. You do. And from what I have seen in your performance reviews, you are all doing solid work. Daniel, your client retention rate is excellent. Marcus, your analytical reports have been helpful to the strategy team. Troy, your sales numbers speak for themselves. I appreciate the work you all do. Daniel looked like he might cry. Oh my God. Sir, I am so sorry. We had no idea. We would never have... It is fine. I prefer to keep a low profile. Most people at the company do not know what I look like. That is intentional. Brad was shaking his head, his hands trembling. Sir, I did not mean... I was just joking around. You know how it is? Guys being guys. I did not mean any disrespect. Were you joking, Brad? Because it did not sound like jokes to me. It sounded like you were trying to humiliate me in front of all these people. In front of my ex-wife. In front of her family. No, I was just... Brad could not finish the sentence. You were just showing everyone here who you really are, I said. My voice was not loud. I did not need to shout. The truth was loud enough on its own. Jessica was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Her mother had her hand over her mouth. Her father was staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Helen looked torn between relief and sadness. I took a breath and addressed Brad directly. Brad, let me tell you something. Success is not about how loud you talk or how much you show off. It is not about putting other people down to make yourself feel bigger. It is about what you build when nobody is watching. It is about how you treat people when you think they have nothing to offer you. You failed that test tonight. I understand. I am really sorry. Please, I need this job. I will do better. I promise. I do not need your apology, but I hope you learned something from this. I turned to Jessica. She was standing there, mascara running, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. Jess, thank you for inviting me tonight. I appreciate the gesture. I truly hope you have a wonderful birthday and a happy life. Samuel, her voice cracked. I did not know about the company, about any of it. I am so sorry for everything, for not believing in you, for leaving when things got hard, for... You do not need to apologize, I said gently. You made the choice that was right for you at the time. I made mine. We both moved on. That is how life works. I walked over to Helen and gave her a hug. Thank you for including me. Take care of yourself. You too, Samuel. I am proud of you. I always knew you would do something amazing. Jessica's father stepped forward, and for a moment I thought he might say something cruel. Instead, he extended his hand. Son, I owe you an apology. A big one. I judged you harshly. I thought you were irresponsible, reckless. I was wrong. I am sorry. I shook his hand. Water under the bridge, sir. I hope you and your family have a good evening. I walked out of that restaurant with my head up and my shoulders back. Not because I had proven anything to anyone, but because I had proven something to myself. I did not need their validation. I never had. As I stepped out onto the sidewalk, the cool night air hit my face, and I felt lighter than I had in years. Behind me, through the glass doors, I could see Brad sitting on the couch, his head in his hands, while his friends stood around looking lost. Jessica was talking to her parents, gesturing wildly, probably trying to explain or defend or process what had just happened. Helen waved at me through the window. I waved back. I walked to the subway station instead of calling a car. I wanted to be around normal people doing normal things. On the train ride home, I thought about the look on Brad's face when the truth came out. There was no satisfaction in it, not really. Just a kind of tired recognition that some people will never understand that real strength is quiet. The following Monday, my HR director knocked on my office door. She had a folder in her hand and a concerned expression on her face. Samuel, I have Brad's resignation letter here. He submitted it first thing this morning, cited personal reasons. I took the letter and read it quickly. It was brief, professional, no details. Accept it, I said. Process his exit paperwork. Make sure he gets his final paycheck and any accrued vacation time. That is it. No discussion. That is it. Later that day, I received 3 separate emails. One from Daniel, one from Marcus, one from Troy. All of them were formal apologies. They explained that they had no idea who I was, that they were embarrassed by their behavior, that they hoped I would give them a chance to prove themselves as professionals. I wrote back to each of them individually. I thanked them for their honesty. I told them that what mattered was not one night at a party, but how they showed up to work every day. I encouraged them to keep doing good work and to treat their colleagues with respect. I meant every word. Jessica sent me a long text message 2 days later. She wrote about how she had spent the past year thinking she had made the right choice, how Brad had seemed like everything she wanted. Stability, confidence, security. But she realized now that she had confused arrogance with confidence and control with security. She said she understood why I had not told her about the company, that I did not owe her that information. She asked if we could meet for coffee sometime, not to get back together, but to find closure properly. I thought about it for a while before responding. Then I wrote back, "I wish you the best, Jess. I really do. But I think we both need to keep moving forward, not backward. Take care of yourself." She did not write back after that, and I was grateful for it. In the weeks that followed, the story of what happened at the birthday dinner spread through Technova. Not because I said anything, but because people talk. I called an all-hands meeting and addressed it directly. I told everyone that I valued privacy, but I also valued honesty. I explained that I had always believed the work should speak for itself, not the person behind it. But I also recognized that people wanted to know who they were working for. So I started showing up to more meetings. I did Q&A sessions with different departments. I made myself available not as some untouchable CEO, but as a person who had built something and wanted others to succeed too. One afternoon, about a month after the birthday dinner, I was sitting in my office going through quarterly reports when I realized something. I was happy. Not the shallow happiness that comes from proving someone wrong or getting revenge, but the deep, quiet happiness that comes from knowing you stayed true to yourself, even when it would have been easier to compromise. Jessica had wanted me to be someone I was not. Brad had wanted to make me feel small. Neither of them succeeded because I never needed their permission to be who I was. I started mentoring young entrepreneurs who were in the same position I had been in 5 years ago. Scared, uncertain, betting everything on an idea that most people could not understand. I shared my story with them, including the hard parts, the failed pitches, the empty bank account, the divorce, the nights when I questioned if I was insane for walking away from security. I told them that success is not a straight line. It is a mess of failures and tiny victories, and moments when you have to choose between what is comfortable and what is right. I also started doing something I had avoided for years. I went on a few real dates, not networking dinners or charity events where everyone was performing. Actual dates with people who did not care about Technova or my bank account. I met a woman named Claire at a bookstore. She was a nurse who had never heard of my company and did not care when I told her what I did. We talked about books and travel and the kind of pizza that is worth waiting in line for. It did not turn into anything serious, but it reminded me that there was a whole world outside of boardrooms and stock options. I learned that night at the restaurant that silence can be more powerful than words, that dignity matters more than validation, and that the people who truly matter will see your worth without you having to prove it. Brad taught me something valuable even though he did not mean to. He showed me that I had genuinely moved on, not just from the marriage, but from needing anyone's approval to feel whole. So if you are ever in a position where someone tries to make you feel small, remember this: your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Their blindness is not your burden. Stay true to yourself, keep building, and let your work speak louder than words ever could. The right people will notice. The wrong people do not matter. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who later realized their mistake? I would love to hear your story in the comments. Drop your experience below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel because I will be sharing more stories about resilience, growth, and finding strength in unexpected places. Thank you for listening. I hope wherever you are right now, you remember that your worth is not determined by anyone's opinion. Stay strong, stay humble, and keep building your dreams. Until next time.